Representation of the Middle Ages in popular media is often characterized as bleak and regressive. This point of view is adopted from the historical perspectives of the period. Barbara Tuchman describes the medieval era as a violent, tormented, bewildered, suffering, and disintegrating age, a time, as many thought, of Satan triumphant. This cynical pessimism towards the Middle Ages is reflected in Ingmar Bergman's 1957 film The Seventh Seal, which follows former crusader Antonius Block and his attempts to avoid defeat from a personified death. The film's depiction of the period, specifically 14th century Sweden, is primarily uninviting in this regard. However, moments of a more hopeful and enlightened medieval era are also identifiable within its structure, revealing stylistic and thematic insights. The representation of the Middle Ages in The Seventh Seal, while largely unflattering, is not exclusively negative, as there are instances where a more optimistic, nuanced view of the period is showcased. One of the primary examples of a less negative vision towards the medieval era in The Seventh Seal is the role and representation of the family of actors. Jove, Mia, and their son Mikael are portrayed sympathetically throughout the film, as Bergman idealizes their freewheeling bohemian lifestyle in contrast to the banalities of Bloch's travels as a knight and the ordinary lives of the Nordic villagers. As a jaunty troupe of entertainers, they provide comic relief, standing out as among the most cheerful characters in the film given its socio-cultural setting of a plague-affected Scandinavian region in the 14th century. Norman Holland notes the family even symbolized the Holy Family in the context of the dialectic between religious faith and doubt in the Seventh Seal, emphasizing their ideal existence. This is more expressly communicated in a scene where Block shares a meal of milk and strawberries with the family, paralleling Eucharistic bread and wine, which he proclaims as a moment of great comfort and significance for him.
Jag ska minnas den här stunden. Stillheten och skymningen. Skål med smultron. Skål med mjölk. Era ansikten i kvällsljuset. Mikael som ligger och sover. Joff med sitt strängaspel. Jag ska försöka komma ihåg vad vi talat om. Och jag ska bära det här minnet mellan mina händer. Lika försiktigt som vore det en skål breddfylld med nymjölkad mjölk. Och detta ska vara mig ett tecken. Och en stor tillräcklighet.
The sympathetic portrayal of the actor of families as it relates to Locke's existential struggles could be interpreted as a form of escapism from the challenges posed by 20th century modernity that are mimetically articulated across the film. Eagle Torringvist observes, Bergman's choice of historical period, the 14th century, was determined by the ravages of plague around this time. Being an epidemic, the plague is a threat to everyone, man and woman, young and old, rich and poor, good and evil. When the Seventh Seal was shot, the most serious threat to mankind was the possibility that a nuclear war would annihilate all life on Earth. This connection between the plague and the Cold War partially motivates the bleaker portrait of the Middle Ages in the Seventh Seal that the actor family provide relief from. As a result, Bloch commits a considerable amount of value to their preservation. When Death indicates his intention to take the family, Bloch deliberately delays their ongoing chess game so the three of them can escape, effectively sacrificing himself in the process.
Du följer gycklarparet genom skogen i natt. De där som heter Joff och Mia. Och har en liten son.
Varför frågar du det?
För ingenting.
Jove, Mia, and Mikael are also seen watching Block and the remaining characters be taken by death at the end of the film, making them the only survivors and are shown walking away towards the sunrise. Bergman creates a consistently favorable representation of bohemianism in medieval theater culture by extension of the exploration of metaphysical themes in The Seventh Seal. The Seventh Seal also constructs a less despondent depiction of the Middle Ages by espousing the medieval setting as a mimetic foreground, implying the period's importance through negation. For instance, the chess game between Block and Death is inspired by a well-known fresco by medieval painter Albertus Pictor. This relates to the concept of memento mori in Christian artwork during the Middle Ages, which aimed to remind viewers of their own mortality. Bergman utilizes memento mori iconography throughout the film to convey notions of 20th century existentialist philosophy. The most prominent example of a memento mori in the film is the Danse Macabre at the end, a motif in medieval art signifying how death unifies humanity. Jesse Kalin suggests that the death of Block, who is a part of the Danse Macabre, marks a tragic failure to fulfill Martin Heidegger's notion of Gelassenheit, an openness and listening to being that involves turning towards other people rather than the transcendental. He states, there is a decisive action. The night distracts death so the spirit of man can escape, but this does not save him, for he does not comprehend what has always been before him. the companionship of the wild strawberries. He does not hear what his own life has to say to him, and so dies in a wretched silence of his own making. However, this pessimistic reading of Bloch's death can be countered by recognizing the Danse Macabre as a humanistic symbol, wherein he has come to know the companionship of others through death. The film's use of medieval iconography to communicate these modern philosophical concerns reflects the intellectual sophistication of the Middle Ages. There is also a notable amount of allegorical content concerning contemporary socio-political anxieties in The Seventh Seal. Jeffrey Triggs argues that the film's rendering of the Black Death as elusive to the threat of an atomic bomb in the 1960s prompts a variety of responses, through its characters, to the threat of a nearing disaster. This is evident in how Bloch's nihilistic Squire Johns replies to the plague with apathy, whereas the religiously fervent flagellants respond with radical self-deprecation and apocalyptic hysteria. Although an ambivalent representation of the Middle Ages on a surface level, the very facilitation of this modern apocalyptic subtext within a medieval setting demonstrates the period's value as a context that shared mutual social difficulties with the present day. The continuities between these historical climates, at least in Europe, strengthen the more reverent portrait of the Middle Ages in The Seventh Seal. Despite its often depressing tone, The Seventh Seal constructs a positive vision of the medieval period as well as a negative one. It accomplishes this through its sympathetic depiction of the actor family and by recognizing the significance of the era by using its iconography and context to voice the philosophical concepts and societal tensions of 20th century modernity.